Greetings everyone, Eric here and welcome back to another video. In this one, I'm going to be showing you guys how to record your guitar onto the computer in two different ways, maybe a third way, we'll see. But yeah, let's get to that. Okay, so obviously you're noticing that I'm not on camera, and that is because I've got kind of like a borderline headache, and unfortunately the lights, the really bright lights that I use so that you guys can see me properly, well, they agitate the headache to no degree and end up making me feel nauseous. So I'm going to not do that to myself. But as you can see here, I have Reaper open, and I'm going to show you these two different ways, and then I'm going to maybe do something else, we'll see. But the two main methods is, for starters, you can record your amp directly by using an attenuator. Now, most guitar amp attenuators, what they do is you plug your amp, either a tube amp or a solid state amp. You plug the output that usually goes to your speaker cabinet. You plug that into the attenuator, and then the attenuator will allow you to output to either speakers or line out, which you can take to the back of your interface or to the front of your interface, depending on what your audio interface does. Now, the attenuator is good and pretty much needed for, well, actually it is 100% needed if you're using a tube amp, because your tube amp needs to see some type of load resistance. Otherwise, it'll basically think that there's that it can infinitely push your tubes without a load. So the resistance basically keeps your tube amp from endlessly pumping more power into your tubes and into your amp and ending up making a horrible mess of your amp and potentially killing it. Actually, it will kill it. So you use an attenuator. So that's what we're going to do for the second one. But the first one I'm going to do is this method, which is pedals. Well, this method can be done even without pedals. And that is basically to plug your guitar directly into your audio interface and then run an amp simulator. In this case, I'm using Ignite Amp's Emissary, which is a metal amp. And then I'm running that into Lancaster Audio's Pulse, which is a cab simulator. Which will allow you to load some cabinet IRs. Now, I'm using my own custom ones. These are from my cabinet itself, which is a PV XXX 4x12 cabinet. It's got a lot of settings. You can set it to mono, dual mono, stereo. You can do a lot of cool stuff with this things, but that's not what this is about. This is going to be about just getting stuff in here. Now, the reason I called this pedals is because you can actually use your pedals like you normally would for, guitar and amp. But you don't need to. If you want, you can actually use, there are some, let me see if I can find them. Yeah, there are some guitar pedal VST plugins that you can easily add. So you can add fuzzes and different boss pedals and different things. So you can add a bunch that you want. So you can do that too. Just make sure you put it in front of the amp. But you can also use just your actual pedals, which is what I'm going to do. So I have my guitar plugged directly into my pedals. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set this to my input, which for me is 3. I'm actually going to do that to this as well. And if I were to do this, and let me make sure all my volumes are up. Let me make sure that's sending some audio. Oh, that's going into 4? Am I dumb? It's going into 4. I'm kind of a ninny. Okay, so you can see there, it's getting audio. As you can see right there. Now, if you want to hear what you're playing, you see this little button here. Now, yours might not be here. I'm using a custom theme, but basically you want to have record monitoring turned on. So there should be a setting. I think there's settings in here somewhere. I don't know if you can right-click. Sometimes I think they actually put it up here as well, but you should see a thing for turning on record monitoring. So if I click that button, you should be able to now hear what I'm playing. So there you can hear what I'm playing, hopefully, if my recording is... Yep, okay. So yeah, you'll be able to hear what I'm playing. And what you can do is you can basically just record exactly like that. So you can sit there and play something if you would like to play something. So that's how you would play normally. Obviously, I have Ignite amps on clean because what I like to do is I like to use my pedals to push this amp heavily. So let me show you kind of what you can do there with the sound of, like, let's say my distortion pedals on. By the way, I play very loud metal type music, so this is going to be quite loud. So brace your ears. Now, that is not very loud. Hopefully I will have done my best to keep that tamed for you guys. But as you can see, I can record directly in, and that's my pedals. Now, you're probably wondering, well, you're probably wondering what all this sounds like without all that. So this is what it sounds like without anything. So it's just my pedals going right into my amp. Which has a unique sound to it. I'm sure someone out there could use that tone. Actually, I could probably use that tone. But this is what happens if I just turn on Emissary, which is the amp simulator. Here's what it sounds like without a cabinet put onto it. Very untamed. Again, you might like the way that sounds, but obviously I would rather have my cabinet turned in. Now you also notice the volume was really loud. That's because my audio here is pulling back some of the audio a little bit. Just because I want this getting punched really hard, just because I wanted to give it that simulation of, tubes being hit real heavy, and I just didn't feel like turning it down. Although I did turn the output down a little bit, but that's basically how I get, this sound. So that's one of the ways that you can kind of do that whole setup. And then obviously when you're recording, the best part about this is, let's just say if I record something real quick. So I'm just going to record a little thing here. And the cool thing about this is now that I have that recorded, this is just the recording of my guitar and my pedals. So like I said, if I turn all that off, it's just that sound. So theoretically, I can now, fiddle with the sounds all I want. So I can mess with this some more. Let's say I wanted to add some more treble. Let's say I wanted to turn down the bass or turn up the bass, stuff like that. Maybe I want to change what cabinet I'm using. I can do that whenever I want now because I have it saved as just my guitar into my pedals right into my interface. So that gives me the options to change things after the fact in case there's something I don't like. Let's say I wake up the next day, I come in here, I'm like, something's off. I can go in and kind of tweak it without having to actually add coming in here and going, let me just add an EQ and blah, 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 which I would add anyway. I would add an EQ no matter what. That actually needs to be changed because I actually have that different. But then I can come in here and add my EQ and all that stuff like I normally would. But I always believe in getting as close to the final sound as you want right from the get-go. So that's the advantage of this. It's really nice, and it kind of gives you the advantage of being able to do that. But let me show you the amp way, which is going to take me a sec. I need to go set that up. So I will be right back. Okay, that took a second, but I am now set up. So as you can see, I have amp turned on here. This one still gets input 3 because I have them separated as 2 different inputs, which helps me, honestly. It means at any point, as long as I have my amp turned on, I can just swap where my guitar is being sent to. But anyway, what this allows me to do now, it allows me to use my actual tube amp, my all tube amp, to record. And just, here's me playing. I think my guitar might be a little out of tune, but I'm too lazy to tune it, even though all I really have to do is just go over there, press the tuner on, but laziness. Anyway, so that's basically that was the kind of clean sound. I think I have the overdrive pedal on still, but that's kind of the clean sound of my amp. Now, let's see, let's hear it with the brain work, distortion on, or not distortion, the fuzz on. Very, very, very nice. And this also has a very similar advantage that this has. So if I do like a quick little recording here. Now, obviously, that was a lot louder. That is a lot louder than the other recording here, but that's just the input volume being really loud. I should probably turn that down eventually, but again, the advantage of that is I can come over here and you can hear what this sounds like. And then at any point, I can just change how I want this. So right now I have these as a left speaker and a right speaker. I can sit here and change that to a cone, which will change the sound. Well, here, I'll click on some different things and you can hear it. So you can see that changes the sound drastically. But that's basically the advantage of having them set this way, is that I can change the cabinet. Meaning I can even load someone else's cabinet IRs. Like I know Glenn Fricker from Spectre Sound Media, or I think it's Spectre Sound Studios. I forget what he changed it to. But I could load his custom cabinet IRs, so I can get his the cabinets that he uses in his studio. And I can do that to anyone. I can purchase any cabinet impulse responses that I want online and use them in my sound if I want to change, my tone up or add a little extra tone to what I'm recording. So it basically just allows you to have some variety and a little bit of extra control over your tone in the aftermath. So it's something that's really nice to have, and it's definitely something that's really nice to do. Now, some of you will probably think of something about like, well, what if I want to use certain type of effects pedals like I would in an effects loop? Now, obviously with my current amp, the one that's set up right now, this one, I can easily use my effects loop because it's just an effects loop. The cabinet, or not the cabinet, the impulse, I am blanking on words. The amp power attenuator is basically just getting the output from my amp that would be normally going to the speakers, which means it's getting the effect that I want. So if I were to say turn on my delay pedal, then I could easily use, you can see the echo already starting. And like that, you can see I can use it very easily because it's just part of my amp sound, and I'm still getting it the way I want. Now, you're probably sitting there going, well, how do I do that with the setup over here, which is the pedal version? So let me just turn that off. You're probably wondering, well, how do I do that with the pedal version? Well, there's a couple ways you can do that. Obviously, the simple way, if you're not using pedals, let's say you don't have a delay pedal, you can just effectively add a pedal here. Now this thing has this stuff here, but none of it actually works. But what you can do is you can just add, let's say, a guitar pedal effect. I don't know if I have any here that would do anything because all I have are distortions. I have like no other things. Okay, so let's say I wanted to use this univibe, which apparently, which is ever so weird, but you can hear what it's doing here. As you can see here, I can just put it after the amp. Which obviously is coming before, obviously in a regular effects loop, most of the time it comes a lot of the effects loop comes before the power section. But in this case, it doesn't really matter because you're still getting the effect that you want, which is before it goes to here, you want all of your things that are going through here to go through whatever the heck you want here. So you could download a reverb, you could download a different type of other pedals that you would normally put in your effects loop and put them here. Now, if you're wondering, well, what if I want to use my actual pedal to do this? Well, what you could do is you could do a send. Now, I think Reaper has its own ability to make sends. Yes, inserts. I believe this is how you do it. Now, an insert basically means that you're sending audio out of one of the outputs of your audio interface to a device, and then the output of that device goes back into your interface through one of the inputs. Now, I don't have that set up right now, but basically that's what you would do. You would say, here's your hardware send. So I would say, oh, I want to go out 3 and 4. You know, that's for stereo. I don't know if I can just tell it. Yeah, I think I can just tell it to do mono. So go out of 3 and then come back through input. I think I have a couple back there, but let's say I do freaking 5. So that means it'll come back in 5. And what that'll do is it'll send out the audio into the delay and then bring it back in before then going here. Now, when you do it this way, you do have to realize something. If you're going to do it this way, it's going to take longer to render. So what you want to do is you might want to render the stem. And the reason is because now it can't render at full. It can't render at multiple speeds because it's not a digital effect. It's an analog effect. So it has to send the audio out into the thing and do it that way. Now, you can get around this if you did a recording send, like do a send here on your record system. So what you could do is you can make a separate thing here. This will be your final record, and you would just do a send here. And then you could easily mute this. And then what you would do is you would have it do all of this. You would turn off pulse here, have it being sent out, and then put pulse here instead. So if you put pulse here, like that, and set it up the way you normally would set it up, now you can handle this, and it's just, well, now it's getting my voice, which is odd. But you can have it so it records what it's hearing from here, and just have it record that way. Now, that's something I've never done myself, but I'm sure there's ways you can kind of get it to do that in a fun way. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of show you different things you could do to record. You could also do the inserts, and then I think you can put the insert here, like on this itself or something like that, and you can do it that way. I'm sure there's plenty of different ways you could do this, but these are just a couple ways that you can record your actual gear or your actual guitar gear onto the computer. This works exactly the same for bass. You would just plug your bass into your pedal board and record that way, which is what I do for my bass. In fact, I have a preamp pedal for my bass that I like to use sometimes to get a nice distorted tone sometimes, or like just a hair bit of distortion, but also give it that nice, thicker feel for bass. But yeah. I wanted to make this a short video, but it ended up being longer than I thought. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Thank you all for coming by, and I hope this helped some of you out. I hope this at least inspired some of you guys to want to get out there and do some recording. Please let me know in the comments section if you found this useful, if there was anything you had questions about with this whole setup, if you have any suggestions or any other things you would like to know about home recording. Please let me know in the comment below. And yeah, I will try to leave links to some of this stuff, because I know Pulse is free and Emissary is free. So I'll try to leave some links so you guys can go check those out yourself. But yeah, Thank you so much. Leave a comment if you liked it. Leave a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more of my content that I'll be coming up with. I'm going to be doing more of this home recording studio stuff. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Later, everyone.